Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Christian McCrae Stewart here, and we are launching our first Wise Counsel Wednesday. So, as you all are joining on, look, share the live with some people. Invite them to come and join you. This is an opportunity for us to come and answer your legal questions that you have. All right? And we are so excited for this to be our first Wednesday that we're going to be doing this. And we know that people perish for a lack of knowledge. So we want to come and we want to equip our clients, present, future, and we want to share that wealth of knowledge and to help you just navigate the legal waters that you're facing, right? And so, what better opportunity to come and you can pose your questions and you can get those answered, okay? So, let us take a few seconds. Let us share, let us tag, let us invite some people to come and join us, all right? It's going to be a great time. And we're just super excited for this opportunity. And if you're not already, go ahead and make sure if you're joining Facebook, LinkedIn, IG, wherever you're joining in from, make sure that you go ahead and follow us because we're always going to be sharing information. We always have new things that's going. Last week, we had a legal clinic that we did with Dominion City, Dallas. So McCrae Stewart and Associates is definitely trying to show up more in the community to present opportunities for people to just receive the help and the guidance that they need, right? So make sure that you are doing that. And as we are going to get started here, this is going to be the topic. So let me briefly explain too how our Wise Counsel Wednesdays are going to operate. Prior to, we're going to post a theme, a topic, if you will, that lets you know, hey, this is what we're going to be covering. If you have these questions, bring them, and we're going to make sure that we are able to provide some answers. Now, the first thing that I want to say, everybody, please understand that answering your questions here does not form a legal relationship, right? There is no attorney-client relationship that is involved. We're trying to provide the necessary guidance that is needed. However, once you're able to obtain some of those general responses, a general framework for your question, if you need further assistance, you will definitely be able to reach out to us. I'll have a QR code at the end of this, and you can find us everywhere: social media, our website. You see it going through at the banner below. But today's topic: arrested. What to do first. Many people don't know what to do in these situations. And a little bit about myself as we're getting started. I have been practicing for almost 13 years now. And I get a lot of questions. People say, I was arrested and this happened and that happened. I'm just like, oh, I wish I would have talked to you prior before you getting arrested, because I would have been able to give you some insight and some guidance on some things you should have done or should not have done that would have been beneficial to you, that would have helped you and not harmed you, right? And so we're just tonight answering any questions that you may have related to this topic. Steps for you to take immediately after an arrest, knowing your rights, and how to avoid self-incrimination. All right. So with that, I'm going to hide it for a second so you all can see me more. And I'll be monitoring the chat. But at the time, since we don't necessarily have questions, one thing that is always good is that I can come to you all and I can share some real life experiences, right? Because sometimes that helps. Sometimes you're just like, well, I really don't know the question to ask. I don't know how to navigate this. It hasn't happened to me before or anyone that I know. But what I will tell you is that having knowledge is great, because you never know when you're going to need it. But when you do, oh, it's wonderful to have it. So let me give you an example. For instance, individuals who are encountered or pulled over and then a investigation starts for driving while intoxicated. You will have an officer come to your door, come to your vehicle, ask for your license, registration, and they'll ask this question: have you been drinking tonight? Now, from a legal perspective, I know that I want my future clients to say, respectfully, officer, I don't want to answer that question. Some people think, well, if I'm just forthcoming, even if I don't feel intoxicated, even if I had just one drink, all is going to be well. They're going to do their investigation and they're going to let me go. Of over the decade of time that I have been doing this, I have yet to see that happen. So, in that situation, if an officer inquires of you, have you been drinking this evening? Respectfully, officer, I decline to answer the question. Okay? Because what happens is you begin to provide information that continues to build probable cause for the officer to arrest you. Understand, you do not have to answer any questions that are going to criminate you. Provide your license, provide your registration. Anything beyond that, I would like to have an attorney. Even if they tell you you're not under arrest, I would like to have an attorney, because even statements that you're making prior to an official arrest, they're going to utilize that. It's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. And so that's why we're doing this, so people are well informed. Let me give a story. And this happened roughly, almost 7 years ago, I would say. This is when I was practicing in Mississippi. Still practicing in Mississippi, but primary, most of my cases were there. I had these teenage boys. They were 18, 19, teenage boys. And let me preface this as well. Some people, I know I got questions early on in my career like, well, when you do, for instance, I do a lot of different practice areas. One of them is criminal defense. Well, how do you feel like you represent people? Are you just trying to get people off? No, it's not about getting people off, but it is about ensuring that individuals' rights are protected. At the end of the day, there are certain rights that have been in place. And if you don't abide by those rights, if you violate those rights, then guess what? Your case should be thrown out. And it's also understanding that sometimes people do make mistakes. Sometimes people are hanging around the wrong crowd. It's the pursuit of justice. When justice has been usurped on one individual and violated on one individual, you have the impact or the opportunity for that to happen to others. Justice for one is justice for all. And when you don't care about that for one individual, you might as well say that you don't care about it for yourself. So just to preference that, because the nature of the story that I'm going to tell. So we have John and Sam. John and Sam are 19 years old. They commit a robbery. They go and they take some items from a home that, of course, is not theirs, right? No one is harmed, no one is injured, but they have these items. No one is able to identify them. No one knows. The officers are speculating because of the location that they're where they are after all this happens. So you have Sam who gets arrested. Sam goes in and he tells the officers everything. He identifies his co-defendant and says, hey, he was with me. This is where we were. This is what we were doing. This is what we have. This is where it's located. He tells them everything. And remember, the officers didn't have anything. They just had a call that this crime had taken place. When it boiled down to it, guess what? Sam made the case for the officers. He didn't know in this situation that you can be quiet, that you should be quiet, that you should ask for counsel, that you shouldn't begin to open your mouth and begin to share information without somebody there being able to advise you, to be able to counsel you and advocate for you. And then what happens is not only did he put himself in a bind, he put his co-defendant in a bind too. And that's some legal evidence rule that I will not belabor with or do right now. But had he been quiet, the situation probably would have turned out a little bit different for them. And it's not to say what they did was right, but it's the education of your rights and your understanding that you're not obligated to answer the questions. You're not obligated to give information that is going to harm you. And most people don't understand that. So many times I've had a plethora of cases and people are like, I just want to tell my side of the story. I just want to tell my side of the story. And it's like, no, tell your side of the story to your attorney. You don't want to try to go and tell it to the officers. And let me also say this. I've worked with many law enforcement officers across the board. And I'm not saying that the officers are bad. What I tell people in all things, in every aspect of what you're doing, you have good and bad. And I work with some amazing officers. But my thing is, I'm going to make you do your job. You're going to have to put in the work. Okay. And that's why I want to educate people. They're supposed to be investigating. They're supposed to go out there and find this information, right? It's not your obligation to go and be forthcoming. Owanda stated, asked, does this also apply in California? Yes, because what we're talking about is federal rights, your constitutional rights. And you have that right against self-incrimination, which means you do not have to provide information or answer questions that is going to put you in a bad light. And so, yes, it does. It does apply to California. It applies to all the states, right? And so people have to be mindful of that. And what I will say too, I've seen it more so over the past couple of years that if individuals are pulled over and they feel as though law enforcement is in the wrong or they don't have a valid basis, they want to argue their point. Oh, yes, ma'am, you are most welcome. They want to argue their point on the side of the road. No, and no. I don't care how wrong you may know that they are. You are not going to win your case on the side of the road. What you do is you comply, and then you go and you get you an attorney who is going to fight for you, who is going to advocate for you, who will not let up because they know that you have been wrong and that your rights have been violated. That's where you win. You win in the courtroom. You don't win on the side of the road. I recently just had a case and I told my client, I said, I wish you would have just been quiet. But when you got combative, you made the situation worse. You put yourself in a situation where they were able to either add additional charges because they're saying you're resisting or you're evading, or something that could have just been a ticket. You begin to, let me give you the scenario because this may help paint a picture. Sometimes paint a picture for individuals, it helps. You had a situation, they pulled an individual over and they're like, hey, you have this paper tag, it's not pulling up. We think you have the wrong registration. Show them the information that you have. Don't be combative. Well, I just got this vehicle. I just checked the registration. I just did all this. No, it's fine. They actually roll down your window. Oh, I don't have to roll down my window. I don't have to roll down my window. A lot of combativeness and frustration and anger and animosity that's not needed. What happened is because he didn't roll down the window, now officers are concerned, safety and things, and they're like, okay, we want you to come out the vehicle. Well, when they get ready to open the door to the vehicle, a gun falls out. In Texas, certain criteria for certain things when it comes to firearms is either it needs to be in a place that, like in your glove compartment, or some people keep them in the truck, or they need to be holstered on your body, right? So now you're facing an unlawful carrying of a weapon when you could have rolled down the windows. You could have taken the ticket for the tag violation and then shown up to court and said, look, here's my papers, here's my registration, here's everything that you need. Throw this ticket out. The thing is we have to show up smarter, right? Whether people are wrong or right in what they're doing, you have to position yourself in a way for you to win, for you to be victorious, in a way that's going to allow your counsel to fight on your behalf. There are many cases that I've viewed and I'm just like, why did you say this? Or why did you do this? Had it went a different way, then this is a strategy that I could have used to get this case thrown out or to get these charges reduced significantly. So you have to understand and see, and this is one thing that I will add when it comes down to being arrested and what you do next. Don't be emotionally led. Don't allow your emotions or your feelings to dictate how you show up in the moment, right? Because even though I can make the statement and say that I've worked with some great officers and I've seen them do great work, we all are human. And guess what? People make mistakes. And what I tell you, I'm the type of attorney that I'm looking for a mistake. When you bring me your case, let's review everything. We're going to make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. And if there's any ounce of your rights being violated, trust and believe we're going to explore that avenue. but you always want to put yourself in the best position to allow for the best defense. All right. Now I'm checking the chat just to make sure. I know Awanda had asked about it applying to California. Does anyone else have any additional questions that you want to pose? I was trying to just provide you all with some stories and some experience, real life experiences, so you can kind of see scenarios where it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's probably not the good thing for me to do. Oh, so what if they are aggressive when they pull you over? And see, that's the thing with staying calm, right? I've had encounters where you initially encounter someone, they pull you over and they're aggressive, they're hostile for whatever the reason may be. This is the moment. Now, what I will say, we're in this age that if you have like a system in your vehicle and you can record, by all means, soon as you're being pulled over, you do that. But you don't want to make any fast movements or anything like that and put yourself in a bad situation. But you just comply. They come to your vehicle, have an attitude, whatever it may be. License and registration. Here you go, officer. This is what you asked for. Don't go back and forth with them. Because unfortunately, with those bad apples that I have seen, it just makes the situation worse. I've seen individuals be charged with resisting or evading arrest, and you just had an officer who I think it was just like, this was uncalled for. You definitely did more than what is needed. Now, what happens from that far as potential lawsuits and things of that nature is on a different spectrum. But it's just one of those, even if they are aggressive, you can't control other people, but you can control yourself. You can't control how you respond. And trust me, it happens, right? It even happens even as attorneys, as we advocate for you all. Sometimes we are reaching out to these officers, we are reaching out to these investigators to have conversations, and they have bad attitudes. Some of them do. But in order to effectively represent our clients, right, I can't be emotionally led. So even if you say something or you come off wrong, or even if I believe that your perspective on the whole thing is wrong, I'm going to control myself. So that way, ultimately, I'm getting the best results for my clients. But that's a great question, Tremaine. And thank you for asking that, because sometimes that happens. I know with social media, we see a lot of different videos and things that's taking place when people are recording. I love to see these ones where people know the law, they know their rights, and with calm and poise, they just say, hey, this is what I have to give you, or this is what I don't have to give you. This, I don't want to answer any of your questions. And that's what you have to be: emotionally intelligent, and then have the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. So wonderful question, Tremaine. I hope that answered your question clearly. If anyone else, please feel free. Go ahead and type your question in there. And this is a good one. And we probably could have had a totally different discussion on this topic, but I get this one all the time. They didn't read me my Miranda rights. Well, this is when Miranda comes into play. They only have to read your Miranda rights when you have actually been arrested, right? When you are the suspect of a crime, if you will. So before you're arrested, when they're just kind of doing a detention, they're just trying to kind of figure out, navigating what's going on, they don't have to read you your Miranda rights at that time. And then too, if they never ask you any questions, they don't have to Mirandize you. I had an individual a few weeks ago. We were in court. We get done with court. He has some warrants for something totally different, and they arrested my client. And I just told him, don't say anything. Just be quiet. Don't answer anything. And his girlfriend, who was with them, she was like, oh, they never read him his Miranda rights. And so I explained this scenario to her as well. If they're not asking him any questions, Miranda doesn't come into play. But the thing is, what we're all learning today is, don't answer any questions anyway, even before you're being arrested. Don't answer questions. Don't provide information that's going to help them build a case against you. Can you call your lawyer when pulled over, or is it too much? I'm going to say that it depends, right? And this is why. Because officers are always trying to make sure not only are they protecting themselves, but they're protecting everyone involved, right? And you don't want to have a situation. Now, let's say this, because you can be in an instance, I think most of us, well, maybe all of us now, the cars, you can just hit a button and say, hey, call so and so. So if you have an attorney who is on speed dial, then by all means, yes, you can call them. The thing is, your attorney is 9 times out of 10 just going to advise you kind of maybe what I'm advising you right now. Comply to the extent that you are required to by law, and don't say anything that's going to incriminate you. So I think if you remember those two things, you'll be in a pretty good place. But always just be mindful that you don't want to take any action that could escalate a situation. Okay. So Tish, let me know if that answered your question. What's the best way to handle a police interrogation without incriminating myself? And so the thing is not to say anything. When officers go and they start to try to interrogate you and ask you questions, I want my attorney. I want to call my lawyer. I want to call my lawyer. 6 words. Or you don't even have to say that many. I want an attorney. I want an attorney. That's it. And when you say that, it is supposed to cut all communications. It's supposed to nip it in the bud, that they no longer continue to inquire of you and try to ask you information. That's what the law says. Once you say, look, I want an attorney, they're not supposed to ask you anything else. So great question. Great question, Emil. That's the best way to handle it. That's a safeguard that most people don't utilize. They just don't utilize. Stay calm, stay compliant to the extent that you're required by law, and say, look, I want an attorney. It's simple. I see a lot of people, unfortunately, who don't know it, and they want to cooperate, right? And that's a one focus that I do want to share. I understand the perspective or the inclination to say, hey, look, I just want to cooperate. I get it. But in your desire to cooperate, you provide evidence that can be used against you. And you just don't want to do that. There's a respectful way to decline and say, I don't want to answer any of your questions. I want an attorney. And they have to respect that. That's a right that you have, a constitutional right that you have, and it's one that cannot be violated. All right. And I'm checking to see if we have some additional questions that are going to come up. Okay, here we go. Can a person say they want their attorney if being asked to do a field sobriety test, or should they comply and ask for their attorney afterwards? Oh, this is great, Tremaine. And as I see so many DWIs or DUIs, depending on where you, what state you're in, you can ask for attorney. You can decline field sobriety tests. You do not have to take the test. So you're pulled over, right? And we kind of touched on a scenario dealing with DWIs earlier on. So you're pulled over. They come to your vehicle and they ask you, have you been drinking? I respectfully decline to answer that question. Now, from my experience, the officer still is going to say, well, they seen you swerving, or they seen something, right? Something that alerted them. They're going to say that they had the smell of alcohol, that you had slurred speech, that you had bloodshot eyes, right? These are little factors that they're going to note for them to be able to continue their investigation. Once you get from there, they're saying, well, hey, do you want to participate? Do you want to do these field sobriety tests for us to determine whether or not you're good enough to drive? No, officer, I would not like to perform any field sobriety tests. You can decline. Don't feel pressured. And so that's what I'm saying about being emotionally there, right? Being able to control yourself and be in a good space. Your refusal to participate in these tests is not you being combative. It's not you being non-compliant. This is something that you actually have a right to refuse to do. So do not do the field sobriety test, because the alternative, as Tremaine had mentioned in her question, was like, oh, do you comply and then ask for your attorney afterwards? No. On the front end, I don't want to comply with any test. at all. And I just want to have an attorney. If you're going to arrest me, okay, by all means, then let them arrest you, right? And then you call your attorney immediately. All right. You don't have to provide field sobriety tests. You do not have to blow in a breathalyzer. You also, now they will ask you too, if you will submit to a blood test. You do not have to do that. And now I'm going to get specific for Texas in particular. And I say this for those who are watching who may not know, because we practice in Mississippi, Texas, and Georgia. But for Texas, just so people are aware, I want you to know this, even as we're giving you the knowledge, right? Because it may determine what you want or may not want to do. In Texas, if you refuse to provide a blood sample, they can go get a warrant if they have enough information. And Texas has an administrative aspect and a criminal aspect, right? The administrative aspect, if you refuse and everything has been done appropriately, you are going to deal with a suspension of your license. Now you can go and get an occupational so you can still be able to drive to work and all those different things. But I want to know, when we are providing knowledge, when we are providing insight and answering questions, I want to make sure that I provide you all with the whole gambit, right? The whole spectrum. So you do know, like, yes, I can refuse to submit to a blood test, but if I'm dealing with DPS, then I'm potentially going to be looking at a suspended license. Okay. Oh, and that's that was the follow-up question that Tremaine had. If we decline, can they force a person to do the blood test with the warrant? Yep. So even if you decline, like I say, if they have the probable cause, the facts that were warranted, they have to go before a judge and say, hey, this is what happened. I pulled this person over. Those facts that I mentioned to you, the bloodshot eyes, the slurred speech. Some people, when they say they go, I asked them for the ID and they were giving me their credit card or whatever the case may be, all the facts that they would say rise to probable cause, they're going to put that in their affidavit to get that warrant. If the judge believes this is enough, the judge will grant the warrant, and then they'll be able to take you to the hospital to draw your blood. So there is an alternative if you decline. But the thing about that, and so let me tell you this point from the legal perspective, from your attorney's perspective, because then I'm gonna go in there and argue and say, okay, you didn't have field sobriety. Do you all want to know how many affidavits I have seen that said, oh, they had bloodshot eyes? I go back and I'm looking at the video and I'm like, their eyes look like mine. Where's the bloodshot, watery eyes? They say they had slurred speech. Is it their accent? Did they fumble over their words? They were communicating with you, right? Every question that you asked them, they answered you and you were able to comprehend it. See, that gives us the basis to then argue to get things thrown out to potentially get your case dismissed. So there's a method. There's a method to the madness, if you will. But it's all about understanding your rights and what you can and cannot do, what you are advised to do and not advised to do, what you can't say no to and what you can't say no to. So that was a wonderful, wonderful question, Tremaine. Thank you so much for that. And I will tell you, a lot of times with DWI cases in particular, is that people, they begin to provide the evidence for themselves, the evidence against them. Hey, where are you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from a party, or I'm coming from a wedding. Have you had any drinks? Yeah, I was drinking. How many drinks you had? Oh, I had 2 shots and I had 2 beers. And right in that affidavit, they're going to say, and the person admitted to drinking. Right? Now, drinking in and of itself, drinking and then driving in and of itself is not illegal. But of course, if you're over the limit or you're at a capacity where you don't have control of your bodily functions, then it becomes an issue, right? But like I say, people provide the information against themselves. It's not information that they would know. That's correct. Yes. So the question, it says, so we don't have to tell them where we were going to or coming from, correct? No, you don't. There's nothing against the law that says you have to tell them where you're coming from. No, you can't. Now, there's no harm, no foul if you do, but they come up to you You can ask, okay, officer, what am I being pulled over for? Oh, I'm pulling you over because your tail light is out. Okay, I can get that fixed. I need your license and your registration. Okay, officer, here you go. Where are you coming from this evening? I respectfully decline to answer that question. They may not like it, but they don't have to like it. Your rights are your rights. You don't have to like it. But most people don't know. And what I will say too, what I encourage people, and just because you know your rights and you have them, don't be boastful. Don't be prideful. The way that you carry yourself, I promise you, it makes a huge difference. It really does. We have a question that says, if I'm arrested in a group, should I handle things differently than if I'm alone? No, you should actually do the same thing. And hopefully the group that you're with are aware of their rights as well, and they don't go rambling on about anything, right? Now, of course, if you're in a group and say you get pulled over and you're in a vehicle, 9 times out of 10, if you're not the driver, they're not even, they're gonna try to see who's in there, maybe make some identifications. But than that, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. But whether you're a group or alone, kind of the advice that I'm providing, the guidance that I'm providing is going to apply. It's applicable. Yes, that is when they do get aggressive. And with that, this is what I will say. They're supposed to have one thing in the time that we live in now that I will say is really good is that they have to have those body cams on. They have to have those body cams on. So if they get aggressive and say that they do something to you, you will have recourse. Hopefully it doesn't get to that extreme. But the thing is that that's a part of protection. And so look, you comply, and they can get aggressive. You say, look, officer, I'm complying with everything that I'm required to. I just don't want to answer the question. And if needed, I just want to go ahead and ask for my attorney. That's what you do. Don't feel intimidated. Don't feel intimidated. That's the one thing about it. If you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, know that you're going to have some recourse if they step over the bounds, if they violate your rights. There are options for you in those situations. Okay, great. So do we have some additional questions? Those are great questions that you all are posing. And I know that, for those who are on, who are going to come back and watch this, that is truly going to be helpful and it's going to be beneficial. And this is information that I utilize for myself too. I've been pulled over for a traffic ticket or two, you know, that I had to take care of. Do you have reading material we can have on this? So we are in the process of drafting. Well, I know we sent that. So one thing we do as well, we send out newsletters. So I would encourage you all. I don't know if we have a link, we'll place it in there. But if you can go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send a newsletter out once a month, right? And it has all these useful tips. But also we are working on a pamphlet that we'll be able to share with you all with this information. That is a great suggestion, Tish, that an ebook would be good. Yeah. And so one thing that I mentioned, and I'll say this again, just because I know a lot of people, as you gradually joined in, is that one of our desires here at McCray Stewart and Associates is to equip our community, to equip those that we serve. We want you all to have the knowledge and the wherewithal when it comes to various situations, right? So every area of practice that we do, whether it's criminal defense, personal injury, estate planning and probate, and a plethora of other things, we want to put that knowledge out there. We want to put that wisdom out there. So with that being said, if you haven't already, if you're not following us on IG, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, go ahead and do so. Also on YouTube, follow us. There's going to be so much information that we're putting out in regards to future webinars when it comes down to ebooks and pamphlets and things of that information that will be useful. It may not even be something that you need. It may be something that a family member or a friend needs. It's always good to be able to have a good resource to share with them. We're going to make all of those things available. Oh, we have another question. How can we sign up for the newsletter? Emil, if you are able to post the link for them to sign up to the newsletter, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, you should be able to also go to our website and get signed up for the newsletter as well. Okay, if you are riding with someone and you have a warrant but you wasn't driving, can they take you to jail? Like when they ask you to step out because the driver is being detained? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when they begin to identify everybody and they're trying to verify if you have an active warrant at that point in time, yes, they can arrest you. They can. They can take you to jail to clear up that warrant. That's kind of like the scenario that I was sharing. I had a client. We went to court for something, property dispute, and I'll just leave it at that. However the officers felt, my client, they had checked and found out that he had some outstanding warrants dealing with petty things, tickets, speeding tickets, traffic tickets, and they arrested him for that. So if they come to identify you and find out that you do have outstanding warrants, they can take you to jail. Unfortunately, I guess. How can I identify an attorney who truly understands my situation and has the right experience to guide me through this legal process? So, and this is amazing because I just had a conversation with a young lady today. But for one, you can go to their website where you typically Google. If you search pretty much any business today, they're going to have reviews, right? You can read those reviews. Also, when you schedule consults with them and you have the opportunity to talk with them, you just want to find somebody who relates to you, somebody who you know truly cares, right? It's a given. Everybody isn't for everybody, and that's okay. But you want to find somebody who's going to hear you out. One thing that we do here is we're concerned about the person. Yes, you are. You're dealing with a legal issue. We know it. And guess what? We will fight for you. We don't mind putting up a fight, but we care about you as a person. We truly care about you as a person. We treat all of our clients with the utmost respect. I've had people who come and they've had bad experiences prior to, right? And I can't control that. But what I can control, or what we can control, is the experience that they have with us. And so do the research, do the reviews. Also go, and to the extent that you can find them on social media, go and see. It's like, oh, is this someone I can relate to? And try to get a feel for that individual in making that decision, right? And sometimes too, I tell people having consults with multiple attorneys is not a bad thing. I have people who call me and I'm like, look, I tell people, go and have a consult with someone else if you truly desire it. Now, if you've already made up your mind, great. We're happy to have you on board. But if you need to, just because you want to see, by all means, to do it. I'll give you an experience. I had one client who came to meet with me. And prior to coming to meet with me, that same day he had met with another attorney. And he said, look, I just felt like he really didn't care about my case. Like it was just about the money. He said he sat there, he talked to me, he had his feet just up on the desk, and it wasn't personable. And of course, I'm not going to speak on another attorney and what they do and do not do. And I was just like, well, I hate to hear you had that experience. But we talked about it. I come to learn a little bit about what he was doing, what his aspirations were, what was he trying to accomplish? Because for us here, all that plays a part in us representing you. What is life for you? What does it look like? What are you trying to do? What impacts could this have or not have, depending on how it is resolved? And so those are the things that you have to do. And follow your gut. If you encounter somebody and you're just like, it just doesn't sit well with me, then go and talk to somebody else. But that's a wonderful, wonderful question. But you get to know that person and do as much research as you can to get as much information to see how they show up for other people, because 9 times out of 10, the consistency is going to be evident. is going to be evident with those that they have an encounter with. All right, yes, and for individuals who want to sign up for the newsletter, yes, okay. You can actually just go to our website. It's www.msalawfirms.com. You will be able to sign up for that newsletter. And like I say, we push them out every month, so we won't bombard you, okay? Because look, I know you get a lot of emails already, but we do try to send out once a month and provide just helpful information. But what if you are actively paying on it, already went to court? So if you are actually, so say for instance, how I understand that. Okay, and there's another link, you all, to subscribe directly to the newsletter. So click on that link and you'll get signed up there. So what I understand that to be is that you've already worked something out on this ticket or whatever it may be. If that's the case, there shouldn't be an active warrant. Typically, you have an active warrant if you fail to appear, you fail to pay or do whatever was required in a certain amount of time. But if you've already worked out a resolution with the court, like you've been to court and they said, okay, look, you're going to pay on this monthly, something fell through with that court and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now, unfortunately for you, it's not going to be bad on the officer. If it's showing active warrant, it's an active warrant, right? And they have their policies and procedures. But you definitely want to be communicating with that court ASAP. After that, your case should probably be dismissed. It should be resolved because you had to sit in jail for something that it sounds as though you shouldn't have if you had already went to court and had it worked out. And sometimes we're dealing with a system. It's a good system, right? But there are flaws, and you have humans, right? We're flawed. We don't always do. Sometimes things can fall through the hoops, and what it sounds like on that situation is a clerk or something forgot to process something, or something was processed incorrectly, and it resulted in a warrant being issued. And that's one thing too, maybe a little bit different off topic, but just since it came up and we're having this discussion, if you have a warrant that has been issued and you go to court for it, or whatever the case it may be, if you don't have counsel, which you shouldn't, I recommend that you have counsel. Don't try to do it on your own. There are some things that I will say you can do on your own, but majority, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. But you want to make sure all those things are cleared up. Like I have clients that sometimes when they reach out to me, they have a warrant. We have to go and do a few things to get that warrant cleared up. We're making sure that it's pooled, that everybody has sent and communicated with everybody, so they don't have something where later on they're getting picked up when we already resolved it. All right. Do we have any additional questions? So I will say this was great. Oh yes, you are most welcome. You are most welcome. This was great for our first Wednesday, our first launch. Like we are so excited. And I want to thank my team. My my team was definitely helping and bring this forward and saying this was something that was needed. Do you represent clients with DUIs where it was true that alcohol was in their system? Yes. Yes. Whether you have alcohol in your system or not, I will represent you. And since you posed that question, I will share this one case with you. Um, I had a client named Matt. Matt was charged with DWI. Matt's BAC came back to be over 0.15. Matt also had a accident, allegedly. So dispatch receives a call. Hey, someone has just ran into a pole. We think the individual is intoxicated. Well, the client reaches out to me, and this is a former client, right? So somebody who trusted me because he know what I had done for him before, right? Know that I would fight for him, or I would be honest and transparent. So we get the case and we're looking at it, and I'm like, oh, these are not good facts. Not only are we over the limit, we also have alleged accident. What are we going to do here? Well, when you sit back, sometimes you keep on analyzing, you keep on looking, you'll begin to notice things. So our defense for this case is when the officers actually arrived at the scene. Yes, there is a vehicle that has hit a pole, and you have 3 doors on this vehicle that are open: the driver's side, the driver back door, and on the passenger side, the passenger back door. My client is not in the vehicle. He's actually outside of the vehicle tussling with one of the doors. So the theory that we used for this case was who was actually driving. No one could really say. When the officers arrived, no one was driving the vehicle. No one was behind the wheel. Now, do they think it was my client? Yes, they do, obviously, because they charged him. But that was the theory that we presented to the court, well, to the jury, that no one can say that he was driving. And if you can't prove this beyond a reasonable doubt that he was the one behind the wheel, it could have been anybody else. There was multiple doors on that vehicle open. How did they get open? So there was a lot of things that couldn't be explained. Ultimately, when it was all said and done, the jury came back and found my client not guilty. It was a case when we first looked at it, we was like, we have some problems here. But we were able to get an amazing result for him. And why I say amazing is because that client had a CDL. A DWI conviction with a CDL is career ending. And so we didn't have a choice. We had to go to trial on that case. And we went to trial and we came out victorious. So back to that answer, yes, even if there is alcohol in your system, we can represent you. And all cases are different. And what we're trying to obtain is going to be different for every client. But we're going to zealously advocate for you. That is for sure. Yes, we are going to go live every Wednesday. And what's going to happen is prior to, we will post on the, on our page, hey, this is going to be the topic that we're discussing. That way, if you have some questions, you can write them down, because, sometimes you can have like, oh, you see the post and be like, well, I'm going to ask this and ask that. And you may forget. That way you can write your questions down. Also, please, you all can feel free to send your questions in ahead of time. So you don't have to wait until the day of. You can send your questions in ahead of time. And even if you have topics of interest, share those with us as well. Because look, we're happy. We're coming to do this to serve the community, right? So whatever is going to be beneficial to you all, that's what we're desiring to do. So send in your questions, send in areas where you may have questions. And yes, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to jump on here and we're going to do these Wise Counsel Wednesdays and have the live Q&A. Do you help with VA claims? So I'm going to say it depends. And this is why. There are certain things that I do know when it comes to VA and what I have seen and things I have done previously. Of course, with my background being a veteran, I was a JAG officer for the United States Air Force. So there are some things that we do or that I do. And there are some things that I'm just like, let me refer you to somebody else because we necessarily don't have the capacity or the manpower to handle it just yet. All right. And I'm glad that you asked me that, because there is someone close who I need to get some referrals over to them. And I think she was joining, but if you're still here, I did not forget. I'm going to get those over to you. Can it be for individuals in all states? Should they all tune in on Wednesdays? Yes, it doesn't matter what state they're in. They can definitely tune in, because what we're trying to provide to is general knowledge, general awareness. Like, for instance, we had a Wanda, I believe, who had asked earlier. She was like, hey, what you're talking about, does this apply in California? And it does, right? There are going to be things that may be state specific, a little bit depending on the questions that are posed. But I encourage everybody to jump in, because you never know what questions are going to be asked, what subjects we're going to be discussing. And like I say, too, at the point in time, it may not necessarily be information for you. It may be information for someone else. Like, I know some people who stayed in California. Now they stay in Texas. Like, you just never know. And people can bring information and insight that can be beneficial for other people, right? And there's things that we do on the federal level that if it's federal, it doesn't even matter what state you reside in. So yes, individuals from every state are more than happy to come and join. We welcome you to come and join us. Yes, and so the firm, again, we do criminal defense, federal, state. We do personal injury, auto accidents. We do estate planning and probate. You need your trust done. You need your will done. You do need those things done. We do assist with those. We do some family law matters. We've done business, but the three things that you will hear us talk about the most just right now is criminal defense, personal injury, estate planning, and probate. But I always tell people, reach out to us with any question that you may have. If we can't personally help you, got some good referrals that makes to make sure that you're in good hands, right? That's always the thing. Make sure you're in good hands. I have a solid case for a wrongful termination and a breach of contract. How do I go about that? I've been trying to find questions about this, but nothing. I know it's off topic. No problem at all. I think what's recommended for you on that one is to do a consult, to reach out and discuss it with someone. And you can reach out to us, more than happy to. And if it's something we can assist you with, we can get you in the hands of the right people. So on that, when it comes to it says, can you explain which is better to have, will or trust? It's going to depend on the dynamics of your circumstances and your finances and just your assets. Because for some people, they actually do both. At the bare minimum, you want your will. And we're actually going to have, and I think it's maybe next Wednesday that we are going to discuss wills, estate planning more general. So that's definitely a call for you to jump onto. But just briefly, it depends. You may need both. At a minimum, you definitely want to have your will. More individuals need that information on wills and trusts as well as estate planning for sure. That's a good Wednesday. What? Okay, look, the audience has spoken. The people have spoken. Next week, we'll get it posted. We're going to be talking about wills and trusts. Wills and trusts. We will be bringing that information to you all. All right. Well, it has been amazing to join you all this evening. I mean, if you have any last minute questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. But other than that, look, make sure that you all are following us. We look forward to doing this every Wednesday. It's going to be phenomenal. Share the information with people that you know. Have them come and like and share and follow and turn on your alerts. That way you're making sure that you're receiving all of the notifications. And like I said, if some things come up of interest, send us a message. Send us a message. We'll definitely get them. And it's going to be great. And one thing too, if you would like to, you can scan the QR code there, and that'll take you to the website, get you all the information that you need. And we continuously are just praying and hoping, this information it's useful, it's beneficial, that it's equipping you all with everything that you need. But if you ever have a legal question, anything that we can help you with, criminal defense, personal injury, estate planning, probate, or you just have a question in general and you're not really sure where to go or how to navigate it, reach out to us. Truly reach out to us. We are your trusted advocates for justice and peace of mind. Your trusted advocates for justice and peace of mind. And so with that being said, you all have an amazing evening. Truly a blessing. We will see you all back here next Wednesday for Wise Counsel Wednesday. Good evening, everybody.